with the first round of the playoff complete, now sets up what has to be one of the best New Year's Day of college football. Lone rematch from the regular season. The quarterfinals will take place in the All-State Sugar Bowl between Ole Miss and Georgia. Bulldogs won this one 43-35 back in October. Guys, remember Ole Miss had that 9-point lead heading into the fourth quarter before Georgia rattled off 17 straight. Maddie, come to you here. Keys to the game on both sides in this rematch now.
Keys to the game, I mean, just for Ole Miss, this is a totally different defense.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say.
It is. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the Georgia defense, and we've heard it from Heather, and as we've discussed and watched, they're shaping into a Kirby Smart defense.
Yes.
Right? I think we've all seen that tweet that kind of went viral, too, of the guy that was in the parking lot listening to Kirby during practice and all that.
That was so sick.
Like, you know, so they're ready to go. Right?
Kirby's locked in,
They're
bro.
chomping at the bit, okay? There was a lot of MFs going around during that practice.
Can we complete a pass?
No doubt. So you can see the type of pressure that even Gunner's under, right, even at practice. But, yeah, I look at that side of it. I think for Charlie Weis, that's going to be the big question. It's just like, how can you generate explosive plays, and how can you play consistent, right, in just obvious passing situations? Because last time around, in critical moments of the fourth quarter, I feel like that was kind of their issue. They couldn't just drop back and throw it and cut up that secondary for Georgia.
Last time we saw this Georgia defense, they pressured the hell out of Ty Simpson. At 56% of his dropbacks, he was pressured. I mean, Kirby Smart was sending blitz after blitz after blitz. The way that you negate that is if you're able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. I said it earlier in the show, Kwan Lacey, how healthy is he going to be for this matchup? Because if Georgia's going to bring pressure to Trinidad Chambliss, then you've got to be able to hand it off towards your talented back. Now, Trinidad Chambliss, he got to be able to use his legs in this matchup effectively and be smart about when he uses them and how he uses them. Because this Georgia defense is completely different from when they faced off in the regular season. And just as another note, Kirby Smart is undefeated against teams that he has had rematches against, 4-0. So we saw him have that rematch against Alabama, won that game. How's the rematch against Ole Miss? We'll see if they'll be able to win this game. But this is a rematch against the team that he beat. Is he going to be able to beat them twice?
There is some of that, like, we've been there before, you know, that strikes me in this game with Georgia. Hell, they played in this game last year, and they lost to Notre Dame. So there's a little bit of a revenge factor in this as well. Conversely, for Ole Miss's run defense, which has been a little bit porous this year, remember Georgia ran it for over 220 yards on them. Hell, even today, Jamari McClure for Tulane ran it for 84 yards. So, like, that's something that Pete Golding is going to have to maybe keep an eye on.
It's going to be a shootout. I mean, that's what, if Ole Miss is going to win the game, it has to be a shootout. Like, that, there's no bones about it. If they struggle offensively, I think Georgia can definitely take control of this football game, control the tempo of it, and especially if they're running the football effectively, they will limit possessions for Trinidad in that offense.
I think that's a great point that you bring up. Although it was a blowout against Tulane, they still had over 400 yards in the game. They were still moving the ball up and down the field. They just weren't able to finish their drives. Now, if Georgia is able to do that, it is going to become a different type of ball game, right? They're going to get ahead, and to your point, it will become a shootout.
Georgia, by the way, trailed in 6 of their 7 regular season matchups this year in the SEC. They have, I'd argue, this is a Georgia team that has a much better defense, like you mentioned, that they were in the beginning of the season. So it's a different factor when you look at where Ole Miss is today versus where Georgia is today. But this game, again, January 1st, 8 Eastern time on ESPN. You guys have a lean one way or another in this one?
I'm going with Georgia for me. I mean, and I think it's really just the improvements of the secondary, right? For guys like Everett, of course, and Ellis Robinson as well on the outside there on the islands. I mean, those guys have made tremendous progress. And Kirby Smart does not help them. He doesn't do a lot of coverages where he has, like, safety help over the top. It's one-on-one. So for Charlie Weis, that'll be the key is, like, how can you generate explosive plays and create one-on-ones that they can take advantage of?
They opened as a touchdown favorite. You think they can maybe cover that, or is it going to be a little bit closer?
I say they cover that.
If you were to see my bracket on our YouTube channel here, I picked Georgia to go quite far in the college football playoff, and I feel pretty confident about them winning this game. I thought Ole Miss was obviously going to win this first game. They're going to be running on that juice. They're going to come together as a group, but you're going to run into a Georgia team that right now has gotten better throughout the whole season. One of the biggest knocks on them earlier in the season was the fact that they always started slow. They started to correct that as the season started to go on.
All right, so that is the All-State Sugar Bowl. Let's head over to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, Miami, Ohio State. Look, first meeting between these two since 2011. Miami and Ohio State played one of the more memorable BCS national championship games some might remember, 03 Fiesta Bowl. Miami opened as a 9.5-point dogs in this game.
Wow.
I want to start on the defensive side of the ball for this matchup because you've got two players that have a case to maybe be the number one pick in the NFL draft this year. Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese on the other side for Ohio State.
Yeah.
How do you think that these two teams match up on the defensive side of the ball first?
Oh, I mean, I feel terrible for both quarterbacks going into this football game because, I mean, there's playmakers all over the place, right? But just, for Miami, got to be more disciplined. There was too many times, I feel like, in this matchup, right, where, like, yes, they were getting great penetration in the backfield and disrupting Marcel Reed, but there was way too many plays where Marcel Reed was able to step into the pocket and make plays with his legs. Now, we haven't seen that much from Julian Sayin, but you got to play more disciplined rush lanes. You got to collapse the pocket a little bit more consistently. So for Miami, no doubt that they have the Johnnies and Joes to take care of it up front. Right? I'm curious to see just what they do defensively in the back end as well, considering how serious those injuries are with Poser and Jacoby Thomas as well.
Julian Sayin was sacked 5 times when he ended up playing in the Big Ten championship. So I think that's what they have to be able to do, protect him. Akeem Mesidor, Ruben Bain, playmakers that can definitely get to the quarterback. But Marcel Reed in Texas A&M was able to hit them for a couple of big plays. They were still able to move the ball down the field as well, but obviously 3 turnovers makes a huge difference. Julian Sayin doesn't turn the ball over that often, but you also got 2 of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football, Julian Sayin and Carson Beck. Carson Beck doesn't necessarily hit you down the field with deep balls, but he's still an accurate quarterback when you talk about getting those short and intermediate throws to his wide receivers.
If there is maybe a bit of a weakness, the Ohio State offensive line has been questionable. You go back to the Big Ten title game, 9 tackles for loss in that game, as you mentioned, and they held Ohio State to 87 rush yards. So that's something to keep an eye out for as well. Do you guys have a lean in this one way or another?
Yeah, so I was going into this thinking that Miami could pull the upset off, but what I saw today from the Texas A&M matchup, I'm a little concerned with Miami separating against the Ohio State secondary. I think that is going to be a problem. I know that Malachi Tony is one of the better stories, but for him and CJ Daniels, to get open consistently, I'm not quite so sure if they can do that with their offensive structure.
Agree. You got to be able to make some explosive plays down the field, and Carson Beck and that offense hasn't been able to show that against elite talent.
All right, so let's head out to the Rose Bowl, where it will be filled with the color crimson because we have got Indiana and Alabama meeting on the gridiron for the very first time, by the way. The narratives are out there. This is insane, guys. Indiana playing in its 15th bowl game ever. Alabama is playing in its 15th college football playoff ever. So, like, that's a little bit of a difference. But Indiana is the team that's favored in this one. Don't let the helmets fool you. Who do you have? Let's start here. What's the biggest question that maybe you have on both sides in this one?
Biggest question for me, I would say, for Alabama, hey, great offensive performance against Oklahoma. Can you do it again? Right? I mean, that's the biggest thing because there's too many stretches of the season where it doesn't click all the way. And, of course, they're not going to be able to run the football because they couldn't run the football the entire season. It's not going to change against Indiana, right? They're going to make sure Brian Haynes, they're going to lock up that front. So now it's going to be just Ty Simpson and Grubb. Like, are you going to lean into that tempo stuff a little bit more to give yourself that freedom, right? Can Ryan Williams come up in clutch situations for them to make some big-time plays? He has to be more a part of the offense going forward. Latsier Brooks has been great. Bernard's been phenomenal. They need something from Ryan Williams as well, just to keep that offense a little bit more balanced.
Safe to say the questions are all on Alabama's side,
Pretty
right?
much.
I mean, Indiana,
a little bit, I would say so.
We've seen everything and anything we need to see from Indiana this season. They've showed that they can beat you in multiple ways, whether they have their star wide receivers or not. And they can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They have the Heisman winner. But for Alabama, they've just shown us one way of being able to beat you, and they can only do so when Ty Simpson is protected, which he has not been as of late. They found a way to protect him late in the game against Oklahoma, which is why he was able to find success. But when he was pressured in the game, he was 1 for 8 for 12 yards. So Ty Simpson, of course, big surprise, not a great quarterback when he's pressured. But you got to be able to find your open guys down the field because it's going to be all on your shoulders.
This opened as a 7-point advantage for Indiana, guys. Who are you going to take?
It's Indiana. It is. I mean, and we saw John Mateer kind of cut up the secondary a little bit for Alabama, which is a talented secondary, but it's, to me, way too much open space for explosive plays there against John Mateer and the Oklahoma Sooners. I think the Indiana Hoosiers will take advantage of that and then some. Wouldn't be shocked if Fernando Mendoza has like a really stellar day through the air.
Yeah, I think that Indiana defense is going to remind us just how good they are, and they're going to shut down the passing game of Alabama.
Look, in a lot of ways, Alabama's going to have to do to Indiana what a lot of teams have tried to do to Alabama in so many instances in the college football playoff. limit possessions, right? Try to play a little bit of small ball. Run the football if you can.
If you think about it, man, the last month of the season, Alabama's offense was very intermediate. They were just about as good as Oklahoma's. Yeah, exactly. When you talk about effectiveness, EPA.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. I got excited about and let's remember too, like for Indiana, right? I mean, Hemby and Black in the backfield. I mean, these are two phenomenal running backs, and that's the thing. Like Alabama doesn't have that ability to do that. Indiana does. Indiana can play a tempo style where they can control the clock. They can also be fast-paced and aggressive. So we've seen Indiana, like Scoop said earlier, kind of win in a lot of different ways, whereas Alabama, it's all just Ty Simpson making plays for them offensively and the defense making the few turnovers they need. So I think Indiana's the safer bet.
All right, so we got a little bit of time off here. We're going to get to the Capital One Orange Bowl in just a second, but we got a little time off here as we look at some of the notable dates coming up where the teams are going to be playing. Quarterfinals start again New Year's Eve. We'll roll it over to January 1st. A reminder, we will be doing the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl as well on the ESPN College Football YouTube page on that date. We'll also be talking about the quarterfinals on the 1st. Then we get to the semifinals January 8th and the 9th. The national championship is on January 19th. You can watch the wrap-up after every single round right where you're watching us right now. Let's take a look at the bracket here. Before we do get to picking some of the teams going forward, just real quick thoughts on the Oregon-Texas Tech matchup, which I think could be one of the more exciting ones in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild that we're doing this because the game is still going on, but still, yes. So for Oregon-Texas Tech, you know, I think for Oregon, we see the team speed that they have against James Madison, right? I mean, it's apparent. And Dante Moore is playing some phenomenal football. But I think Texas A&M, their defense, their defensive front, and just their overall speed defensively, they'll be able to slow down Oregon just enough to get this win. I say Texas Tech.
This is the most evenly matched up one, right? In the quarterfinals?
Yeah. I would agree with that, yes.
Like
I would say this is the biggest coin flip game to me, right?
Yes,
because I'm just not sure what to expect from Texas Tech in this type of environment, and also, too, just Oregon, just feeding off the fact that they played today, I think is a huge thing going for them.
I mean, just look at
it.
It is a 5-4 game, so you would think that it will be the most even matchup, but I do think that the Texas Tech offense has not shown me enough this season to be explosive, and I think that Oregon will be able to contain them. Texas Tech has been great on defense, but then I look at the Oregon offense, and I think that they have everything that they need to be explosive as well. So if there's any breakdowns, if they have any opportunities to hit you deep, Johnnies and Joes, I do like the Johnnies that Oregon has. So I think they'll be able to come out with the win.
Well, you think about, the one loss that Texas Tech did pick up, right? It was Sam Levitt that was carving them up a little bit. Dante Moore can exploit them a little bit on the outside.
Dante Moore had a monster game today.
Different style of play, though. Like, Sam Levitt was really doing, like, some wild stuff in that football game. And I'm not sure if Dante Moore plays to that style, but there's no doubt that he's playing with a different confidence.
Oregon or Texas Tech?
Gosh, give me Texas Tech.
Okay.
I'll take Texas Tech.
I mean, let's see. The running game, who runs the football better? Well, I like to kind of think that maybe Oregon is going to be able to run the football a little bit more consistently. That's where the Texas Tech defensive front comes in.
But okay.
And then Reggie Virgil, Caleb Douglas in those one-on-one situations, right? And even Coy Aiken, got to make big-time plays down the field and one-on-one situations because Oregon is going to bring the house a lot.